This is Mr. Beck Does Your Homework, Physics, homework number 11, question number 6. A crate is pushed horizontally with a force. The acceleration of gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. Calculate the acceleration of the crate. Wow. So, I've got this crate, it's being pushed to the right. I know there's a coefficient of friction. So if I think about a free body diagram, I've got gravity down, I've got my normal force up, I've got this push force, that's this one, 2330 newtons, and I'm going to have some force of friction this way. In this case, since they're asking for the acceleration of the crate, I can't assume that the force of friction equals the push force. I'm going to guess that the push force is greater than the force of friction because that would allow a net force to accelerate the crate. So let's see, which of these do I know? I know my push force, in my case, is 2330 newtons. So that's this. My force of gravity is going to be the mass of the object times the acceleration of gravity. So for me, that's 359 times 9.8. So there is my mass times the acceleration of gravity. In this case, my normal force is going to equal gravity because there are no other forces acting up and down. There's no monsters involved. So up equals down, and so my gravity force will equal my normal force. So that is also going to equal however much my gravity is, which is this amount. How do I get my friction force? It turns out that my force of friction is going to be the coefficient of friction times my normal force. Well, I know my normal force, it's going to be this. So my coefficient of friction is 0.37, so that's going to be 0.37 times my normal force, which is 359 times 9.8. Now I've got a force of friction one way, and I've got a force of push the other way. Well, what is my net force on this object going to be? Turns out I'm pushing to the right this much, I'm pushing to the left this much. When I subtract the two, that's going to give me my net force. So that's going to be my push force to the right minus my friction force to the left will give me my net force on this object. When I have a net force, then I'm going to have some number for that. Well, I also know that F net equals ma, and I'm looking for the acceleration. So my acceleration is going to be F net, which I calculate here, divided by my mass of 359. It's my mass of my crate in kilograms. So that will give me the acceleration of the crate. So I've got a net force between friction and push. Normal and gravity cancel out. I figure out my friction from my normal force, which I got from my gravity. And the difference between the push and the friction is my net force, and that net force causes the mass to accelerate.